Serena. So as I walked off, he continued to like press me, and I told him like, bro, good playing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm over here talking to Jay Prince. You know what I'm saying? I'm over here talking to Abdullah Mason. Like, I'm talking to heavy hitters. You know what I'm saying? One, I deal with a lot of people that's irritating. So I'm like, you know what? This dude irritates me. So I'm walking off. He keeps stepping to me. So as he's stepping to me, now, of course, my man, Pap stepped like, hey, bro, chill out. She said, like, you know that's not Serena. Leave her alone. He stepped to Pap, you know, because this what he do. This what he do. He like, hell, I did it already. So, one, you done already disrespected me. You know, you already done trolled me. Now, Pap done told you to step off, and now you stepping to Pap. You already know what happened. I don't have to say.
Hey everyone, it's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back in action with another episode of Celebrity Junk. Today, we've got a story involving Claressa Shields, Papoose, and a comedian named Gerald Houston. This all went down at a Las Vegas boxing match, where Gerald tried to pull a prank on Claressa, but things didn't exactly go as planned. So here's the deal with Gerald Houston. He actually ended up getting hurt because of the prank gone wrong. TMZ Sports recently sat down with him to hear his side of the story. They asked whether he planned to press charges since the cops were present at the scene. Gerald's initial response? When they asked me about pressing charges, I said, I ain't no press charging type, and just walked away. That was his first reaction at the moment. But things online have been a whole different story. Blogs and social media have been spreading misinformation and defaming him. People are literally saying Papoose punched me, he clarified. That never happened. And no one ever walked up to me and slapped me with a book. What actually happened? Books were thrown at me, multiple books. Because of all these false claims, he's now consulting with a lawyer to figure out how to address the lies circulating about him. From Gerald Houston's perspective, the situation escalated far more quickly than he had anticipated. He explained that the primary reason he even felt the need to consult with a lawyer was that he believed he had been physically assaulted during the incident. According to Gerald, the individuals involved had even admitted to the assault publicly online, which only added to a sense of frustration. On top of the physical aspect, Gerald expressed his irritation over the numerous false narratives circulating about him in the aftermath. He described it as a clear case of defamation, with exaggerated claims and misinformation spreading across social media platforms. Look, I don't even make videos for this kind of drama, he emphasized. But they literally admitted they assaulted me online, he said, underscoring the irony of the situation. While he had been wronged, the public perception was increasingly skewed. Gerald then offered a detailed account of how the prank actually unfolded. He recounted seeing Claressa Shields standing nearby, seemingly engaged in taking a photo with someone else. Wanting to inject some humor into the moment, he approached her and jokingly exclaimed, "Oh my God, it's Serena Williams. You the GOAT. You the GOAT. You the GOAT." As he did so, he deliberately backed away while repeating the compliment multiple times, aiming to keep the interaction lighthearted and playful. According to Gerald, Shields responded with a smile and a bit of amusement, saying, "He knows I'm not Serena, y'all," which suggested she was not upset or angry at that time. The scene, as Gerald described it, started off as a humorous, low-stakes interaction, yet it quickly spiraled into something more serious due to misunderstandings and the subsequent spread of online rumors. For him, the combination of a minor prank, public acknowledgement of assault, and false online narratives created a situation that required careful consideration and legal counsel. As he stepped back, Gerald started looking around to see who she was with. He noticed a large man nearby, who he assumed was security, and then saw Papoose standing on the other side of him. The surprising part? All of this happened right in front of the police, he emphasized. According to Gerald, the police witnessed the entire incident. He confronted him, saying, "Corny." Gerald responded, "I already did it," and began to walk away. That's when things took a wild turn. Papoose was holding a stack of books. Claressa even claimed there were around 40, though Gerald didn't count, and he threw them all at him. One of the books hit Gerald square in the face, knocking both his glasses and his hat to the ground. Immediately after, the police stepped in and Gerald reassured them, "Yo, I'm good. I'm good." They asked if he wanted to press charges, but he chose not to pursue it at the time, leaving the matter there. Gerald emphasized that Papoose never physically approached him. "I never stepped to Papoose," he clarified. At the time of the incident, Papoose, Claressa Shields, and the police were all at roughly equal distances from him, keeping the situation in check. Looking at the situation objectively, there are multiple ways to interpret what happened, and understanding both perspectives is essential to seeing the bigger picture. On one hand, Gerald Houston clearly played a role in escalating the situation. By his own admission, he engaged in trolling, a behavior that involves provoking, teasing, or instigating a reaction from others, often for attention or entertainment. In this case, Gerald's trolling targeted Claressa Shields and Papoose at a public event. He was warned to stop his behavior, but instead of immediately disengaging or backing away, he continued to push the limits. From one perspective, this makes him partially responsible for the resulting chaos. His actions, although meant to be humorous or lighthearted, were clearly disruptive. It reflects an old adage Gerald himself referenced: "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." Essentially, this saying implies that when someone engages in reckless or provocative behavior, they should expect some form of consequence, whether minor or severe. In this sense, Gerald seemed aware of the risks, and his acknowledgement of potential repercussions shows a level of personal accountability. On the other hand, the way the story spread online has significantly distorted the facts, which complicates the situation further. Almost immediately, rumors began circulating that Papoose had physically assaulted Gerald, that he punched him, grabbed him aggressively, or engaged in some form of violent behavior beyond what actually occurred. These rumors spread like wildfire across social media platforms, fueled by people who may have misunderstood, misheard, or deliberately exaggerated the events. For someone like Gerald, who has a sizable following himself, this rapid dissemination of misinformation can be frustrating and even damaging, as it distorts his reputation and places him in a potentially vulnerable position. What might have been a minor, humorous altercation in real life suddenly transformed into a story of alleged assault and controversy online. The impact of these rumors demonstrates how quickly social media can escalate ordinary situations, turning private interactions into public spectacles, often with serious consequences. In reality, Gerald clarified, the incident was far less violent than the online narrative suggested. Papoose did not punch him, shove him, or strike him in any aggressive manner. Instead, the physical aspect of the incident involved Papoose throwing books at him. Gerald explained that one of these books struck him in the nose, which caused discomfort and some minor injuries, such as knocking off his glasses and hat. While this was certainly an unpleasant experience and qualifies as an assault, it is a far cry from the exaggerated claims that circulated online. The difference between the actual events and the rumors highlights how easily facts can be distorted once filtered through the lens of social media commentary, opinion pieces, and public speculation. The online reaction and subsequent misrepresentation of the events also raised practical concerns for Gerald. With false narratives spreading, the possibility of legal complications became a real consideration. In situations like this, people often feel compelled to consult legal counsel, not necessarily to pursue litigation immediately, but to understand their rights and determine the best course of action in case the situation escalates further. Gerald mentioned that he has considered legal options, partly due to the defamation and false claims that have been made about him. This shows a responsible approach to managing personal reputation and potential liabilities in an era where social media amplification can turn even minor incidents into widely publicized controversies. Furthermore, the situation serves as a cautionary tale about the interplay between provocation and reaction. While Gerald's trolling initiated the chain of events, it was Papoose's response, throwing the books, that created a tangible consequence. Yet, the subsequent exaggeration of the incident demonstrates how narratives can quickly take on a life of their own, independent of the original actions. The combination of social media virality, celebrity visibility, and public fascination with conflict has the potential to amplify misunderstandings into full-blown controversies. For Gerald, this meant that what began as a playful, albeit risky, interaction ended up becoming a source of public scrutiny and debate. It's also important to recognize the psychological and social dimensions at play. People are naturally drawn to sensational stories, especially when celebrities or public figures are involved. A minor scuffle, a humorous prank, or an unexpected reaction can be turned into dramatic headlines, shared thousands of times, and dissected by audiences far removed from the original context. Gerald's situation illustrates this phenomenon perfectly. The simple act of being involved in a prank escalated, not solely because of his actions or Papoose's response, but because of how the story was interpreted, repeated, and embellished online. The broader lesson here is that the public's perception can diverge sharply from reality, creating reputational risks even when one's actions were not malicious. Ultimately, this situation underscores the complexity of accountability in public spaces. On one hand, individuals must recognize the risks associated with provocative behavior and be prepared to accept natural consequences. On the other hand, they must also contend with the uncontrollable nature of online narratives, which can misrepresent events and escalate tensions far beyond their original scope. Gerald Houston's experience demonstrates both sides of this dynamic. His trolling sparked a reaction. Yet the exaggeration of the incident online transformed what could have been a relatively minor event into a story of alleged violence and potential legal entanglements. Navigating such situations requires both personal responsibility and strategic awareness, particularly in a digital landscape where facts and rumors can intertwine quickly and often destructively. In conclusion, while Gerald did initiate the trolling and should have anticipated some consequences, the way the incident was misrepresented online shows how complex public perception can be. Papoose's actions were limited to throwing books, yet the narrative evolved into something far more sensational. Gerald's contemplation of legal action highlights the importance of managing reputation, understanding rights, and responding thoughtfully when misinformation spreads. In this context, the phrase, "play stupid games, win stupid prizes," captures only part of the story. The other part involves recognizing the power of online amplification and the necessity of strategic, calm responses in the face of social media-fueled drama. The discussion also touched on Claressa Shields' role in the public perception of the incident. Some believe her social media presence and polarized persona to the exaggeration. Female boxing, being a smaller spotlight compared to other sports, means every post and interaction gets magnified. Gerald implied that in trying to navigate attention and build her platform, Claressa may have unintentionally intensified the situation. One thing Gerald admits he respects about Papoose is that the man keeps it old school and low-key. Papoose isn't one for theatrics, he says. If there's a problem, Papoose handles it quietly. One confrontation, then he moves on. He doesn't live stream the fallout or chase clout. He lets the incident be and gets on with his life. Claressa, on the other hand, hasn't exactly taken that route. Gerald argues that by broadcasting the story and doubling down on certain narratives, she's actually pouring gasoline on the situation instead of letting it cool off. She's already posted online saying she didn't physically strike the guy, and now the rumor mill is primed to explode. Some people will inevitably dare him to sue. Gerald even joked about the legal angle, saying the practical risks vary depending where you live. Unless you live in certain countries, he noted, implying the consequences and cultural responses aren't the same everywhere, but stressed that, here in the States, escalating a trolling incident can quickly spiral. Bottom line for him, Papoose handles things quietly. Claressa's public posture is keeping the story alive. Gerald also stressed a bigger lesson. When someone's trolling or provoking you, it's usually about clout or money. You've got to be smart, he said. You can't go online and broadcast, "Oh yeah, Papoose did this." Who does that help? People see it, start clout chasing, and suddenly it becomes legal ammunition. He could sue and get a big payout. Papoose might not have it, so who's footing the bill? You. His advice? Keep your distance, and if things get serious, involve the police. If someone's bothering you and trolling, call the cops. They're there to handle it, Gerald emphasized. Though Gerald hadn't personally heard of Gerald Houston before the incident, he took note of Houston's significant presence online. From what he could see, Houston has built a substantial following, around 1.5 million people actively engaging with his content across social media platforms. That's a massive audience by any standard, and it indicates that Houston has already achieved a level of fame that many people would spend years trying to reach. What stood out to Gerald, however, was that despite this large following, Houston didn't necessarily need any more attention. He already had the platform and the audience to get noticed, yet he continued to put himself in the spotlight in ways that weren't always wise. Gerald went on to explain that Houston has a noticeable pattern of behavior when it comes to interacting with public figures. He's known for trolling celebrities, poking fun, making jokes, or instigating playful chaos in ways that grab attention quickly. Gerald specifically mentioned that Houston has trolled other celebrities, like Mo Jones, demonstrating a kind of consistency in his approach. It's not a one-time thing, it's a repeated pattern that shows Houston thrives on creating viral moments, even if it sometimes puts him at risk. In fact, this pattern of trolling can be dangerous because it often escalates situations unnecessarily. Gerald pointed out that people like Houston often underestimate the consequences of their actions, not realizing how quickly a lighthearted prank or joke can turn into something more serious, especially when celebrities, security, and law enforcement are involved. Gerald emphasized that the key lesson here isn't just about Houston or this particular incident, it's about understanding human behavior in the age of social media. Some people are naturally drawn to chaos, drama, and the attention that comes with it. They get a thrill from pushing boundaries and seeing how far they can go before someone reacts. These are the types of individuals who thrive on stirring the pot, creating viral moments, and drawing eyes to themselves, no matter the consequences. For them, the thrill of engagement, the rush of being talked about, and the dopamine from likes, shares, and comments can outweigh the risks. Gerald noted that while this kind of behavior might seem exciting or entertaining from the outside, it often leads to unnecessary conflict, misunderstandings, and, in some cases, legal trouble. The takeaway, Gerald explained, is that the best way to handle people who thrive on this type of attention is to stay calm, composed, and strategic. Escalating a situation by reacting impulsively, posting online, or trying to get back at someone almost always makes matters worse. Gerald stressed the importance of thinking ahead, recognizing the patterns of these individuals, and understanding that responding emotionally often plays right into their hands. By remaining calm and smart, it's possible to avoid turning a minor incident into a full-blown public spectacle, lawsuit, or viral controversy. In other words, the more measured your response, the less fuel you provide for the drama that people like Houston seem to seek. Gerald also reflected on the irony of the situation. Houston, despite being a figure who loves attention, already has a massive following and significant influence. One might assume that someone with 1.5 million followers wouldn't need to create additional drama just to get noticed, yet here we are. This highlights the way social media can distort priorities. People feel compelled to constantly engage, provoke, or entertain, even when they already have everything they need to be successful. Gerald found this particularly interesting because it shows a broader truth about online culture. It's not always about necessity or survival. Sometimes it's purely about ego, excitement, or the enjoyment of chaos. Understanding this mindset, he suggested, is essential for anyone navigating public spaces, whether online or in real life. Finally, Gerald wrapped up his commentary with a nod to the broader context of celebrity news and entertainment culture. He acknowledged that this story, like many others, serves as a reminder of the complicated interplay between fame, social media, and human behavior. So, guys, what do you think? He asked rhetorically, bringing the discussion back to the audience. It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it with another episode of Celebrity Junk. Appreciate all you do. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and we out. This sign-off wasn't just a typical closing. It also reinforced the larger point. Amidst all the chaos and drama that social media can create, the ability to step back, analyze the situation, and remain calm is invaluable. In a world where attention is currency and everyone is looking for the next viral moment, maintaining perspective is perhaps the most powerful tool anyone can have. Ultimately, Gerald's observations about Houston, his trolling behavior, and the social media dynamics at play serve as both a cautionary tale and a lesson. People will always exist who enjoy stirring up trouble or testing boundaries, especially when there's an audience to witness it. Recognizing these patterns, anticipating possible outcomes, and staying grounded are essential strategies for protecting oneself from unnecessary conflict. Gerald's insights highlight that fame, followers, and social media presence do not necessarily equate to wisdom or prudence, and that sometimes the smartest move is simply to stay calm, ignore the provocation, and let events unfold without feeding into the drama.